Hey everyone, I am Al the Geek, and this week on The Forge, we're going to get into detail painting. Let's have a look, shall we?
Welcome to The Forge. I'm Al the Geek. I love making big, crazy blasters. Here on The Forge, we're going to show you some tips, some tricks, and how to mod and paint your blasters. From anything from making giant master keys to making that big, long, cool sniper that you're always looking for. Whether it be cosplay or whether it be foam flinging, here at The Forge, we're going to show you how to do that.
So I get asked a lot in terms of how I paint these, and everyone assumes that they can't do it either. Well, yes you can. I assure you, the first ones I painted were never this good. In fact, they were pretty terrible. However, I also learned you got to keep on trying. It's okay to fail, and you just keep on practicing, and you will get better at it. Even now, people think I'm a good painter, but you know what? I still don't think I am. I still think I could be better than I currently am. But I know to get better, I just got to keep on trying, but also not be afraid to fail. So today, on this episode, what are we going to learn to paint? I'm going to show you how I paint one of these. Let's get into it. So this is the blaster we're actually going to be painting. As you can tell, I have already done the preliminary in terms of sanding off logos, basing it out or priming it in a black vinyl dye, and then I taped it off, and then also did it, I do believe this was a plutonium gray. Actually, no, I think this was a bear. I think this was a bear gray that I had. And so now that I have that all painted up and ready, now it's time to turn this into this. So, most common question I get, what do I use? Well, this is the stuff I like to use. Tamiya, chrome silver, and gunmetal gray. And the one thing I've learned, sometimes the big thing about doing this is not necessarily how many different colors you can put into this. Unless you're good and you can really sort out a solid color combination, but sometimes keeping it simple will actually create a much better effect. By keeping it simple, it just comes out a lot better. Meaning, don't try to overdo it. Don't try to paint every nook and cranny, every space, but stop, paint a section, try it, see what looks right. Go with the feel of it. That's my recommendation. So again, these are the paints I use. You use standard brushes, water to clean up, and also glasses, because it turns out the older I get, I just don't see like I used to. And I realized once I started using glasses, wow, I could see so much better. All right, so let's start. So again, we're ready to start painting it. Now for this one, I'm probably going to start with the chrome silver first. Considering I've already painted it before, this is pretty standard for me, where I take this and just basically copy it and mimic it. First time through, I can guarantee you that your first attempt in terms of determining what you're going to color and where may not always look good. I suggest trying one side, see how it looks, and then if it doesn't look good, that's all right. A little more black vinyl dye or another gray, you paint right over it and you try again. Believe me, I have done it. It's basically figuring out what works. So then, for my silver, I love using this. It is the Tamiya X11 Chrome Silver. Usually when they sit, this stuff does separate. I know you can mix it in the bottle personally. I don't like to shake them because then it gets all over the lid. I usually just take the back end of a paintbrush, stir it up till I get a good consistency. Because you want to make sure all the particulate that's sitting at the bottom is actually thoroughly mixed in with the solution, just so you get better coverage. Also, as you're soon going to find out, this stuff does cover very well, but still, trying to find a paint that'll cover everything in one shot and it looks beautiful, that would make life easier. Unfortunately, it's hard to find. So, your first coat, your second coat, maybe even your third will look not as good as you like. That happens. Don't be discouraged by it. It's just the nature of painting. Sometimes for these products, you got to do multiple coats. So I've just turned the other blaster around so I can see it, because me being able to see what I'm doing is probably a good idea. So now that I have the paint here ready to go, I picked the brush I want. You can go as small or as big as you want. It's up to you. But essentially, it's kind of just like starting with a point, dipping and going. Now, when I approach this, I kind of, to figure out what sections I'm going to paint, it can be very overwhelming at first because you're trying to think of a scheme, you're trying to think what goes together, and you can be like, I have no idea what to paint, what to do, what not to do. So the way I kind of approach it, look at it, or tell people the way to look at it, is kind of like a coloring book. All of us at some point in our lives, usually when we were very young, probably had coloring books where you're able to look at something and your teacher, your parents, or your friends taught you how to color or told you how to color. Meaning, what were the rules? Well, use different colors, find the shape, and color in the lines. So basically, you're kind of taking that approach to this. Whereas almost you're taking it like a drawing or in a coloring book. You're not looking at it like an entire blaster, but like sections. For example, this is a section right here maybe you can paint. Right here, this is a section you can paint. For me, breaking it out into sections and deciding if I'm going to keep it either the gray or the black or adding a different color is how I approach it. And you find it a lot easier to tackle as opposed to coming up with an overall scheme in your head. Now, if you are the type that you work better with the entire scheme and then make it work, go ahead. But most people I've talked to or have asked me questions about it can't do that. So this is how I tell them to do it, is to break it apart into like a coloring book in terms of sections and spaces or squares and not to color over it. And so you can see, I also do not take apart the blaster. I get it, some people do. Go ahead, if that's what you want to do, feel free. I've had success not doing so. It's up to you. So already, you can see we got the chrome right there. And for those who don't know, this is the Nerf 4Runner. Again, in a post-apocalyptic theme, because apparently I just feel like everyone needs a post-apocalyptic shotgun. But again, it's not putting too much paint on your brush, just enough to color it in so it doesn't run. And even still, for a first coat, this thing is actually covering pretty good. So again, checking my master piece here. Is now I'm going to paint over on this section. So let's see if you all can get a better view of what I'm doing here. But again, it's also key of having good brushes. Good brushes where the bristles don't go all crazy on you. Because when you push down with a brush, the bristles should be in control. You want to apply pressure as you're painting because then you get to dictate where the bristles go and you're able to actually stay in the lines a little bit better. When you're not pushing and you're just kind of going like this, you have no control and they can end up anywhere. By pushing on the bristles and applying some pressure, now the hairs or bristles are engaged and pushed down and more likely to stay in the direction you're moving, as opposed to when there's not much pressure, then there's more likelihood for it to kind of like go elsewhere. How do I know this? For the record, I'm also a professional painter by trade. And when I say that, not an artist, residential and commercial, I am a professional painter, so I kind of know my way around brushes. Although this is a lot smaller than I use in my day-to-day, obviously. Now, the other advantage of this is that when you're painting it, especially like where I'm going with the black here, near the black, if you go over, that's okay. Because what you can do after is just with black paint, come back and like an eraser, but not like an eraser, almost like a whiteout, if any of you are old enough to know what I mean by whiteout, is you just go back with the black and go over top of it to basically correct any mistakes you have made. But then also, this is also why I always tell people and why I chose to do like a distressed look, a post-apocalyptic distressed look, is because then your paint job does not have to be perfect. I get that some people want it to look like it came straight out of the factory. Yeah, you can do it, but the problem is unless it's a wall hanger where it's just going to be hanging on your wall and no one's going to touch it, if you're painting it to look brand new and intend on using it or playing with it, odds are you're going to scrape it, scuff it, drop it, or chip it. And then once you chip it, suddenly that paint job is like, oh, sadness. Here's the advantage of distressing. Once you've distressed it, and we haven't gotten to that stage yet because now I just want to see you can see already the detail, how it's coming through and already changing the look of the blaster. Once you distress it, if at any point, if paint rubs off, if there's a scratch or anything else like that, you can easily fill it in just with more of the color you had. But even still after, I'll show it, with dry brushing or just with a black marker, color it in, and it looks like it's been distressed or scratched and looks like it's part of the build. So that's why I always like to do a distressed look. Also, if when you're coloring in the lines and it's not perfect, you can always come back with the distressing over top of what you colored that doesn't look solid, and it kind of hides the fact that you didn't paint it that well. For the record, I do paint it well, but, you know, not everyone's perfect. So again, we have the chrome happening in all the places I think I want. Again, you can see it right here like this. We got one more spot on top. To fill in. And I basically got this one side ready to go. So then after, just wash the brush, clean it up a little bit. When that dries, I always try to introduce a second or third color actually. So right now I have the black, I have the gray, and in terms of detail color, I have the chrome. The next one I want to use, and this is also probably one of the more common colors I use, is again, Tamiya paint, Gunmetal X10. This one is still a metallic. It's a darker gray. This one also, you really got to get a good mix in because it likes to separate, and you want to get that proper color in there. So make sure you get it mixed up and that there's no streaking in it, that the color all looks uniform. Otherwise, when you try to paint different coats, you'll be wondering why different parts of the blaster look different. So yeah, always make sure that the paint you're using is uniform when you apply it. The other thing I like about this gunmetal is that also usually 2, maybe 3 coats, depending on what you're painting over, it will cover. So in this case, I already have the chrome over here. Where I feel like I want to do gunmetal just to introduce a new color is right here. Even though it's hard to tell, it is different than the gray. It'll be more noticeable on this gray, is because then the different gradations of gray actually gives it more depth, more realism, not in a horrible way, but makes it look like it's kind of steel or looks cooler. And again, my attempt at this is not to make it look like it's a real actual firearm. Where do you get firearms with spikes on it? And that's also why I orange tip everything. But to get more depth in color and interest, doing the different gradations of like a similar color gives it actual much more depth, as opposed to just painting it a straight black or a straight gray, everything, and then just distressing it, it doesn't look the same. So keep it simple, but not too simple. It's kind of a balance, and it depends on the blaster and the colors. So we're back to this again, and now I have the gunmetal. Again, because it's going to be a bigger section, and I'm pretty good with brushes, I'm going to pick a bigger one just to get more of it on. And so again, we go with the gunmetal over top of the gray here. I know people use different kinds of paints for the detailing, different kinds of model paints, whether it be Model Master, the stuff that guys use for, that people use for Warhammer, things like that. Like anything else, this is the stuff I use. I'm constantly looking for new stuff, but also depends on availability, price, and how much I can get. Like, I would love it if this actually came in like quarts or gallons as opposed to this, but it does not, but it does what I need it to do. But ultimately, if you find a paint brand that you really like, that really works for you, go with it. If not, you want to try this, hey, do it. You can find it in different hobby stores. You can find it actually on Amazon as well. And a simple Google search, you'll be able to find people that sell the Tamiya paints. Interesting enough, in my area, there are no real hobby shops left or stores I can get it, so I end up ordering it online. And online, I think it's like, I think on Amazon, it's almost like $7 for one of these. However, I am Canadian. I still have family in Canada. When I go visit my family in Mississauga, there's a couple of shops in Etobicoke and in Toronto I go to, and I usually stock up on a lot of Tamiya paints because there's no shipping. They have it in stock, and it's about $4 Canadian. So they've gotten used to me when I show up and say, yeah, I'll take 10 of these, 8 of these. like I said, find what you like and find it where you can get a good price for it. So again, now you see we have the gunmetal happening right there. The other place we need it, I think, is right here on the grips. Again, you don't have to, but I felt like it was necessary to break up that black and get some more interest in it. If you want to be rebellious, you can paint it white. You can do something different, definitely there. But in this case, I've decided to do that. And again, for the rest of the grip right here. And you can tell, I am staying in the lines again, like a coloring book. Stay in the lines. Don't let the teacher find you coloring outside the lines. I guess it depends what grade you're in, right? When you're in kindergarten or, well, let's just say a younger age, you don't have to necessarily stay in the lines. But I remember at some point they're kind of asking you, all right, let's color this, but stay in the lines. So for this, my recommendation is stay in the lines. So again, you can see just by doing those spots right there. And again, it doesn't take much. It's not like you have to repaint the entire blaster. It's just picking the proper spots where you add a different color, and suddenly it changes the whole dynamic and the whole look of your blaster. These two, for me, are two of my favorite colors. They go well in terms of like detail, the chrome silver and the gunmetal. They go very well with the Pantones that I pick. Obviously with the reds, the blues, the whites, the purples. It all really plays off of it well. But you can see when you break it down, it's not as difficult as you may think. I guess the most difficult part is deciding where to paint, what to paint, and what color. Well, you can see what that's going to look like. So there you have it. How to detail paint in terms of how I do it. I still have to throw on a few more coats to even this out, but you can tell that what it really comes down to is being able to break down your blaster in terms of the sections you want to paint that will actually elicit the look you're going for. So that's all we have for this episode. Now, we're still not there yet. What does that mean? Next episode, I'll show you how to distress, dry brush, and do what I do to take it from this point to this point. Thanks everyone for watching. That's another episode of The Forge. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And also, if you haven't yet, don't forget to register for the World Foam Alliance at worldfoamalliance.org. Also, be sure to check out our other shows, The Range, Get Off My Lawn, and of course, Foam Zone. Next time on The Forge, I will be distressing blasters. So until then, we'll see you next time.